Welcome to Tonia's Kitchen, where taste and nutrition go hand in hand. Here is Tonia King.
My guest today on Tonia's Kitchen is Chef Moe Cason. Today we're talking about the brand new book, Big Moe's Big Book of Barbecue. How are you today?
Man, I am doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'll tell you what, if I had some of the food that I see in this book, I'd even be better.
Well, that's a good thing.
Wow. You are a master of the grill, and your story is so interesting. My goodness, starting out from your grandma who had 17 kids. Are you kidding? How could
Oh,
anybody
yeah.
handle that these days?
Oh, she was built different, man. She was built different, man. And then a lot of grandmothers and grandparents were built different back then. That was a different generation, man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
My grandpa had a victory garden that was like it seemed like it was a half acre. It probably was only 100 yards, but it seemed like a half acre with all the stuff. But that's what they did, you know. My grandpa have a garden, and that's how he fed his family.
You got into the whole grilling thing, I guess, just because of food being a big part of your childhood, correct?
Yeah, I just coming up, my grandmother had 17 kids, and she was an awesome woman. She was just an awesome cook. So whenever we had like July 4th, Labor Day, Memorial Day, and in between, we always had cookouts and get-togethers, and that's kind of like my first experience of being around the grill and seeing, uncles and cousins smoking on a little smoker. And I just fell in love with it, man. I just love being around the grill and chopping it up and have my uncles and cousins on the grill cooking ribs or chicken or whatever, and pork steaks and that's how I got the bug bit, you know what I mean? And then we had a grill in my backyard. So I'd get my little bag of charcoal, Kingsford, and I'd put it in there and fire it up, and I would go and cook anything, just to fire the grill up, just to see what I can do. I mean, sometimes I'd go down to the lake or the pond and get some fish and flay it up and season it up with some crazy stuff, concoction that I made out of the spices in the cabinet and cook it. And like a lot of times it was trash, but that's how you learn.
You are really naturally organic grown here. You learn by just hands-on and doing your own thing. Is this
I
your
am.
first book?
Yes, ma'am. It's my first cookbook, and I wanted my first book to be my family.
What was your history with National Geographic? What did you do there?
I did a 4 episode show, kind of like Gordon Ramsay's Uncharted.
Yeah.
So I went over went overseas. I did some stuff domestically, but we cooked everything over fire. So everything.
Ah.
So I mean, if I went to the Bahamas and we caught conch, I grilled it off. We pounded it out, grilled it off, marinated, whatever, and then it was cool. You get to meet all the people in that area and the chef or the locals and stuff, and you kind of get a sense of what the flow is, and then they kind of tell you what their ingredients are or their culture, and then you try to cook a meal that they would like. And every time I did it, to be for real, they enjoyed it.
Well, that's what it's all about. Putting a smile on your face after you put it in your mouth.
True, true.
Let's get into some of your cooking techniques and, of course, some of your recipes. When I was reading your book, you talk about how important a rub is as compared to a sauce. Give me your take on that.
Yeah, for me personally, even though I'm from Iowa, I'm from the Midwest. Midwest is generally a sauce type, Kansas City style type barbecue. But what I love and what I like and what I have evolved to is more Texas style barbecue, where it's just quality meat, quality seasoning, balanced smoke, and voila. And then sauce is a additional, like sprinkles on a cupcake, but it's not necessary. Whereas in Kansas City, which is nothing wrong in their model, is a lot of stuff is sauced, which is really good. I've had this great barbecue restaurants in Kansas City. My family, I'm 3 hours north of there. A lot of my family are from Kansas City, Missouri, Central Missouri. So it's like I'm really familiar with Kansas City type barbecue. But for me personally, as I have evolved in from competition and just my life, I like a good dry rub, which is the seasoning, quality meat, smoke. Like at home, when I cook, I don't sauce nothing. My kids, I got 4 beautiful daughters. They know where the stuff is. They want some Moe Cason 80, which is great sauce, or my I-10, whatever sauce. It's in the refrigerator. Warm it up, go get it. But I don't sauce nothing at home.
So let's talk about one of your rubs. Can you share a recipe?
There's great recipes I have in the cookbook. So basically, when you're going to do a rub, some of the main components you want to have is salt. Now, I like to use a lot of Himalayan pink sea salt and kosher salt, good black pepper, People don't understand that peppercorns, all type of peppercorns, have different flavors. So
Right.
when I had all my rubs developed, they had to bring in a bunch of black pepper, like peppercorns, and for me to try cracked peppercorns, because it's amazing all the different flavors that you have. And I know what I like, and so I settled on the not settled, but I chose the black pepper that I like.
Right.
And so it's that's why my rubs do really, really well, is because I'm able to, I know my flavor. I know what I want. I don't just settle. You know, you get a lot of co-packers that are dictating to you what you need to do, where I dictate to them what that has to be done.
Right. Well, you know what your flavor profile wants to be.
Exactly. I mean, probably people just like, okay, well, I'll take your word for it, and I'll just let you just go ahead and do it. And then you end up tasting their stuff, and it's nothing like they made, because they settle. And unfortunately, in the barbecue, everybody their mom's got a rub. Everybody their mom's got a sauce. But that's one thing I have to say to myself. I'm really proud that all my rubs and all my sauces are all my recipes 100%. And every place I went into, they have never kicked me out. It's grown everywhere. Every single one. A lot of guys can't say that. They'll get the rub in there. If your rub is weak or flat, and it may got some really jazzy name to it, but when your rub is whack, when they try it that one time and they're like, "This is garbage," it's over.
That's it.
And box stores are in the business of making money. And I have to honestly say, I've never been kicked out of any store. Every store I've went into, which I'm very selective of who I go into.
I want to hear what are some of the flavors in one of your rubs. Talked about salt and pepper, but give me some other ideas. What are some of the other flavors that go into some of your rubs?
I use a lot of Himalayan pink sea salt. It costs
Right.
more money, but if you
it's
take
good.
Himalayan pink sea salt, go and taste that versus, and I love kosher salt too, because most of my rubs back in the day were kosher salt. And then I introduced myself to Himalayan pink sea salt. And I'm like, oh my God, this is delicious. So it's simple things like that, nuances. It's like Himalayan pink sea salt, or it's coriander, or it's lemon peel, or lemon powder. So these are the little attributes that are going to enhance your rub. Your
Yeah.
rubs are going to be basically your salt, your peppers, depending on what you're doing, your paprikas or your chili powders, and then you build onto that. It
I would
depends
think,
on what you want.
yeah, and I would think it depends on what you're making.
So a lot of my rubs can cross over to a lot of different proteins, but I kind of geared all my rubs to a certain protein. And then you can use it for a lot of different things. Heck, I know
Right.
people using it on popcorn and ice cream. You know what I'm saying? But I built these rubs to go on certain proteins, like when I'm doing brisket or beef or short ribs, I'm a salt pepper kind of guy. I add a few more things to a couple of my rubs in order to make it, to me, enhance it, in my opinion. But I'm a salt and pepper guy, basically, and garlic guy when it comes to beef. When it comes to chicken, I like chicken to have a little more pop. So I have cayenne, I have some things in it. A lot of people love my chicken rub. Chicken rub sells, I think out of pork, my pork and chicken rub are the two big sellers. And all my rubs sell, don't get me wrong. But those are like huge. But my chicken rub it's got some pop to it. I want chicken to have pop. I don't want my chicken to be flat. I don't want none of my barbecue to be flat. But
so are your
saying?
rubs available for sale? Do you sell them online
Oh
or
my
where?
God, yeah, they're still nationwide, man. So Academy Sports down south carries all my rubs. Ace Hardware Stores carries my stuff nationally, east to west coast,
That's
north to
great.
south.
That's great.
Yeah, then I got other chains that there are also too. So yeah, man. I mean, it's amazing taking something that I created in my kitchen and created a business after that.
Yeah, I think it's great. You have a lot of great tips and tricks in your book. Why don't you share some of those with us? What is the thing we need to think about if we're cooking a brisket?
Thermometer, good thermometer, like a ThermoWorks. They're out of Utah. They make a thing called ThermoPen. Super quick. You stick it in 1.2 seconds or less than 2 seconds. It's going to tell you exactly what that internal temperature is. Even though I can cook all my barbecue without thermometers because I know what I'm doing.
Right.
A thermometer I always keep in my bib. I always keep it because a thermometer is not going to lie. There's certain stages in that brisket it starts to take shape to where you're getting close to the end. Brisket doesn't start breaking down and getting right until you get close to 200 degrees. Now, there's different ways to get to 200 degrees. You can do a brisket for 14 hours and get to 195, 197, and that brisket is money. Or you can cook a brisket like I do in competition for 6, 7 hours, and it's going to be money. But I'm cooking at a higher temperature, and I got to take the higher internal done temperature higher in order to get that same feel. You understand what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
can cook a brisket at 200 degrees or 210. I can cook it for 14 hours, and it's going to be butter, generally close to 200 degrees. You might not even go 200 degrees. If I'm cooking a brisket at 300 degrees, which I can do on my pit all day long, I might need to go to 205 or 207 internal done temperature to have that same feel as a brisket that's cooked over low and slow at 200 degrees. So those are the things you got to learn as a cook, how to treat that meat, that protein. When I cook my barbecue, the two woods I use mostly is post oak and pecan. Pecan's in the same family as hickory, which I love hickory, but pecan is in the same family tree as hickory, but it doesn't have the harshness like hickory does. If you get too crazy with hickory, things can go south really bad. Just like if you cook strictly on cherry, that's a bad thing. Cherry is a great flavor and it smells great coming out of your pit, but cherry can really turn some good meat bad if you put too much cherry. If you're gonna use cherry, to me, it's just like every once in a while, just add a little stick in there, especially when you're cooking your pork or you're cooking like chicken and stuff. I never use cherry on brisket or beef like that.
We are talking with Big Moe. We're talking about Big Moe's Big Book of Barbecue. How about you share a recipe from the book with us?
Say, for example, brisket. A lot of people like brisket. Brisket's really popular. It's really good. Take your rub. You should prefer you get Moe Cason barbecue rub, just to keep it real. And then you season up the protein. First thing I do is I add a little oil as a binder. You can use mustard or whatever, but I like to use canola oil or EVO as my binder, and I coat the outside of that piece of meat just thinly with my hand, rub it down. That allows the rub to adhere nicely to the piece of meat all the way around. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my pit up and running already. So I let my meat sit for about an hour with rub on it. So I don't put my rub on the night before. That's going to be one of those mistakes a lot of people make because they see it in cookbooks or whatever. But what happens is if you season a piece of protein up the night before, what's the main component in the rub? Salt. So if you take a Ziploc bag and you put some chicken in there or you put a couple racks of ribs in there and you season it up with rub that has salt, which is generally what's going to have, in the morning when you go and take that brisket out, or the ribs or the chicken out, you're going to have a lot of liquid in that water. What happens is that liquid was supposed to be in that protein, but because you put salt rub on it too early, you've pulled that valuable moisture out of that piece of meat. Now you got meat that's starting at a deficit, and then you put it on the pit, okay? So all you need is an hour. So take your meat out, sit on the counter, your brisket, your chicken, your ribs, your pork butt, whatever. Oil it up, throw your seasoning on it, and then you let it sit for about an hour. Have your pit already up to temperature, so 250, 275, 300, whatever your pit likes to run at. Then you put your protein on it. And then it's all about feel and temperature. Don't get caught up in saying, well, I've got 9 hours in, so no. It's about temperature and feel. So you put a probe in there, and you feel it. And as that meat is progressing through the cooking process, you're going to start getting changes as far as texture. You're going to be able to feel that in that thermometer.
Sounds great.
Brisket, yeah. So, you just like with a brisket on typically, it's 200 degrees, 203. That's going to be that sweet number where that brisket is going to be right. I don't care if you're cooking choice or if you're cooking prime or cooking Wagyu. You're going to be in that range. But then you still got to learn how to take that out when it's done. And the big thing with a beef or any meat, period, is letting it rest. So if I got a brisket done, I take it out and put it in a dry cooler. I obviously wrap my brisket in butcher paper, put it in the dry cooler after you've reached like 203 internal temperature, and let it rest 3 or 4 hours. And that's going to be the magic. Those juices are going to try to redistribute back in that piece of meat. As the meat is cooking over a hot pit, the juices are working from the center of that piece of meat outwardly. And then as you rest that piece of meat, those juices will try to redistribute out back inside that meat. So that's why it's so crucial to let that meat rest. And if you take a brisket and take it right out of the pit and you got 203 and you slice it, you're going to see juices running all over the cutting board. It may look cool, but that's a bad thing. If you let that brisket rest in a cooler for about 3 hours or 4 hours, all those slices of brisket that you're slicing, those juices are going to be attached to them slices. You're going to have a juicier piece of meat when you're done.
I'm talking with Moe Cason about his brand new book, Big Moe's Big Book of Barbecue. Tell me how we find you on social media.
You go to Big Moe Cason on Instagram, Moe Cason on Facebook.
And Cason is Cason. I want to make sure that people know that. All right,
yes,
Moe,
ma'am.
Thank you so much for your time today. Beautiful book. Lots of great tips and suggestions and lots of great recipes on learning how to deal with our barbecue. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Visit our Facebook page and check out our new podcast for Tonia's Kitchen, wherever you get your podcasts from.